Hello everybody, welcome back to day 8 of our Getting Through the Holidays journey here together. Thank you for tuning back in. It's awesome to have you there. We've had the energy update this afternoon. The edited recording of that will go out probably tomorrow. It takes many hours to edit these videos. But anyway, I want to welcome you to our day 8, and I am very proud and very excited to introduce our panel guests today, which are Shiela, Bryan, and Gosia a little later, like in 15-20 minutes, when I'm done with the overview of our energies today and a little bit of crypto news. All right. Once more, thank you for coming. Thank you for commenting. Okay, your comments are why we do this live show here, and your questions. Okay, and yes, please let us know where you're listening from. Okay, so I see Australia, I see the United States. So yes, at this time of the day, we'll probably most likely have people from Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the United States, because Europe is deep asleep right now. California. Okay. So today the energies that are coming in today, and I've talked for over an hour in the energy update today about this sort of limbo state that many of us are feeling right now. It's a bit of mixture, I would say, of agitation, like wanting to do something, but then again, not entirely sure what it is that we need to do. A bit of confusion, a bit of high blood pressure, and maybe even a little bit of issues in the lower digestive area. Okay, so these are just sort of the things that were reported to me today. But for the most part, those of you energetically sensitives and empaths who, are actively or proactively working on their self-healing, you may have had a rather contemplative day today, like reevaluating. Today was a day of reevaluation, something that we mentioned yesterday and the day before. And I don't know if you watched the episode from last night with Ryan McCormick and Jeff Casper, but if you ever go into a low place with your spiritual journey, watch that episode. While I was editing it, I couldn't help but just crack up laughing. Oh, we got London there. Hello. Yes, wonderful. So everybody, yes, and somebody's reporting here confusion, yes, and the cleaning bug. Cleaning, for those of you who have that part of their daily chores, can be a wonderful way to release energies. We talked about this way back, I think, in the first episode, clearing energies, chopping wood or jumping or punching the pillow if needed, just to release some of those stuck up energies. And it wasn't so much, I don't know about you guys, please give me feedback. For me, it wasn't so much emotional energies that I felt. It wasn't so much the anger. Like a couple of days back, there was more anger there, or pain. It felt more like sort of a mental thing. Like I keep thinking about, perhaps what is it that I want for my new year. Thinking about resolutions, sort of recapitulating a little bit, and depending on how aware we are about our journey, this can lead to like self-doubt, to anxiety, and to a place of victimhood. Perhaps even that's something that came in last night during our energetic adjustment session. It can also, lead to fantasizing, like instead of actually taking the conditions as they are and going into this sort of alternative reality and dreaming a new reality into play. I sometimes call this castle building because the word fantasizing has a little bit of a negative connotation. But what it really is that, depending on our coping strategies, which we talked about yesterday, the ones that are, hardwired into our autonomous nervous system, we will have a certain aptitude, a certain tendency to go to certain places, fight, flight, or freeze, remember? And when we freeze, then we tend to like loop on our place. We basically dissociate from what is going on around us, and just sort of internally go into this disconnected place where it's almost like robotic, where it's just my body doing things, but I'm not really involved. And the flight person, the person with the highest aptitude for flight, will go into like, fantasizing or maybe even irrational type of things, or will want to just be distracted by things that provide a little more gratification at that moment. And the fighter will go into this like, I gotta go harder, I gotta do more, of whatever it is, and will tend to criticize or judge him or herself. So these are, parts of our false self. And when they come forward like they did today, this facade, this like who we think we need to be, then this can sort of create these cognitive dissonances in us. Because a part of us, namely the true self, kind of feels this isn't true, right? But then, our ego that uses this as primary coping mechanism insists on that this is the way it is. Yeah, and I'm reading some of your comments here. Oh, yes, and coming back to the cleaning part, cleaning can be a great way to release energies, also mental energies, and to just like go into the grind. So anything that involves you, going into this grunt mode, with your body. Also, running can be good, like everything that is very aerobic, and that sort of shakes up your system a little bit, because it helps to get rid of the rigidity that is there, energetically, or blockages, to loosen them up. It cannot really resolve anything, but it can help you to get into this place where you feel a bit more at ease with things. Okay. So, but this wasn't the energy tip for today. Where I wanted to go today with the energy tip is something that I've already started with the energy update earlier today, and that is how to go about your journey, how to find, your true dedication, and perhaps use this as a new paradigm of looking at your life's quest here. And there is a strong karmic aspect that is coming in right now. So after having to deal with a lot of inner child stuff and in the last week, we're now getting more to the place where, knowing all of this, all the things that are holding us back is not enough anymore. We got to really begin to translate that within ourselves. And that has a lot to do with our signal processing. And signal processing, again, here is something that divides us humans into different people with different propensities. One of which, for instance, is the visual signal processing. So if I am more of a visual person, it will be a lot easier for me to learn things by reading them, for instance, or watching a video, for that matter. If I'm an auditory person, I'll be really good at listening to instructions, and I hear messages, and I can relate to people talking. I usually have an aptitude for talking. And if I'm more like a kinesthetic type of person that has to learn through experiencing, learn through touching, those people are usually learners that need to write things down. So if you like an excessive doodler or journaler, then the chances are that your primary channel for information processing is kinesthetic. And one of the things that I noticed as an energy coach and energy healer is that females usually tend to be a bit more on the kinesthetic side, a bit more on the experiencing and feeling, and sensing side, whereas males tend to be more visual. And so you see there are some things that are pre-programmed in us, this time through our gender, or through our genetics that predispose us for certain primary strategies that we choose. Okay, so a tactile person, will always go into tactile release mechanisms. When there is too much going on, we'll seek, this like, I think I made a joke once, you should see me mopping my floor or vacuuming my floor. That's like a 3,000 calorie activity for me because I really push into the ground and make sure that I huff and puff while I'm doing this. All right, because I really enjoy the release that happens when I have this tactile experience. Now, for those of you who are more auditory, for you, guided meditations, for instance, can work really well, where you allow yourself to go into this place of relaxation, of physical relaxation, and you just listen to a guiding voice. Oftentimes, music works really well for you as well to regulate your energy, to either release or connect or integrate things in your life. And then those of us who are visual, you probably have a tendency to want to watch movies when you're in a certain state. And here I just want to point out, you've got to be really, really careful about, and the same, of course, applies to music as well, or any type of entertainment. You've got to make sure that you can feel the energy of a movie, just because you're in a low place and you feel like, yes, give me the painful movie. Give me the 2.5 hours of crying, or give me the brutal movie, where there's just like, you've got to watch and discern the consciousness level of the movie, because there are so hidden agendas, hidden messages that are being sent with movies that are typically not all that conducive for energy. So this is actually a really big thing here at transCODES, talking about, we love using all kinds of media to make a point, to explain certain spiritual, metaphysical concepts and say, watch this movie, and there's a part in there that gets this across really well. But then, you may hear me or Jeff say, well, but the overall consciousness level of the movie is not that high. It's just really that scene that is really good. But other than that, it's maybe a very graphic movie, where as an energetically sensitive, then you are sitting there with all those brutal scenes in your head, and it takes you a whole day to get rid of those. All right. I think you know what I'm talking about. So you've got to be very picky with the things that you let in, with the things that you expose yourself to, because they have an effect on your energetic state, and your energetic state has an effect on your emotions and on your physical, and also on your thoughts. And so just sort of on a side note here, be careful with, the articles that you read, the kind of media, social media that you allow yourself, the blogs that you read, the movies you watch, the music you listen to, and of course also the people that you surround yourselves with. Okay, so today was one of those days where your etheric psychic immune system was probably really low. And on those days, your energy becomes a lot more susceptible to absorbing other people's stuff without you noticing it. So with our special guests here today, we'll be talking about, the journey all together, and, how alignment, plays into, how we experience our journey And then perhaps we can come up with good tips for you on how to approach your New Year's resolutions. Before we get to Bryan, Gosia, and Shiela, I want to give a brief overview here over the crypto market. You know that I like to compare the developments in the crypto market with collective energies for various reasons. But one of the reasons that I brought up earlier today in the energy update is probably the one that attracts me the most. And that is because the crypto market is a market for all people, all around the world. There's no difference between the countries, the ethnicity, the political systems, or whatever, wherever you come from. Pretty much everybody has access, theoretically. You know, they need a computer or some kind of device, obviously, and some internet access, but then the crypto market is available to a person, and you know, we're dealing with a grassroots movement, as I called it yesterday. You know, where we have people from all kinds of walks, and most of these people are not professionals. See, the professional brokerage firms and banks, they're just about to move in, which is part of what we're experiencing right now. We're experiencing a lot of FUDs, you know, articles or news that create fear, uncertainty, and doubt in people. And because it's such an emotional, such a fickle market, if you will, because you know, it's not a professional market. It's a global movement. You know, these Bitcoin and Co, these tokens that are being traded there, they're courses that respond to these FUDs like a wildfire, but they also, you know, get compensated very quickly. So it is a very fast movement, and very often directly reflecting on where people are at. So this agitation that I mentioned earlier is also visible in the crypto market right now. And I've, if you're interested, I've publicized my crypto folio for 2018 for those of you with an investment strategy on the energy update. You can look this up here on the YouTube channel in the live version. That's sort of my strategy for, you know, quadrupling or more you know, my investment here. There's, of course, no guarantee, and I'm not a financial advisor, so this is all subject to your own discernment and due diligence to inform yourself. But this is what I'm doing, and there you can see that you know, I'm being actually pretty rational about it. I'm looking at the use cases. I'm looking at what these companies that have these tokens, these altcoins, the use that they are producing for the market and for the people. And with everything that is going on right now, you know, where people are insecure, where there's a lot of, you know, a lot of breaches, there's a lot of like security issues, the Wild West / jungle feeling, and rightly so, which is why I don't recommend anyone to enter this market if you don't feel like you can handle, you know, a few basic technical, you know, ups and downs. But because of that, you know, this all is becomes extra volatile, and that's why a big part of my portfolio goes into fintech, you know, financial technology, into companies that provide services around money transfer, wallets, exchanges, payment platforms, payment and lending systems, because those will be the areas that will, you know, have the first and direct benefit from this new technology. And I do want to pick up on a comment here from a listener. Mad scientist, I understand where you were coming from with your comment, you know, that you say, you know, I don't have disposable income, and how could I recommend, you know, someone who doesn't, you know, who lives off Social Security to go in the crypto market. I'm hoping to discuss this here with Shiela, Bryan, and Gosia, because there is a difference really in that market, and there's an abundance alignment that comes with taking part or becoming part of this movement. And I want to talk about this in all honesty and in all compassion too. This is not some like chic thing to do, for people who don't care if they lose a couple $100,000. No, there's a reason why I'm bringing this up here in this context of self-healing. And I want to cover this with Bryan, Shiela, and Gosia, because some of them have gone through this themselves. Yes, and Gemma is coming up here with a suggestion to talk about family situations. I've talked a little bit about this in the past couple of days. Family situations in these days are, of course, what dominate, our experience, because most people, sort of get together with family, or even if it's just over the phone, but there's a lot of energetic interaction right now between people, and you'll be able, as an energetically sensitive person, you'll be able to observe a lot of these hidden energetic dynamics that take place between people. And my tip for not getting caught up in these things such as passive aggressiveness or judgment or criticism, open or covered, it doesn't matter. Those are all parts of our energetic experience. So people don't really have to say it. You can feel it. Even without words, pretty much every day here, every energy tip and every sort of strategy that I've tried to introduce or illuminate here over the last 8 days is supposed to help you with this. So yesterday, I think, was very helpful when Ryan said, use humor to disarm some of that. And the day before, we talked about the karmic aspects between people, and sometimes, there's just unfinished business with people, and you won't be able to fully resolve this in 3D. And the day before that, I talked about etheric reconciliation, and how sometimes we have to go into this place of stillness and silent resolution with a person. Okay, those are all techniques that can be learned. But right now, the outer tension is going down, but the inner tension is still, at a level of unresolved, so to speak. Okay, so the energy barometer for this week is red, and not as dark red as it was in the last week, but there still is a lot of unresolved stuff there. And when we feel these cognitive dissonances, as I called them earlier, then our body goes into stress. And just here as a heads up for the next week, there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now with your circulatory vascular system. You got to watch your blood pressure, because that's often, a sign that there's too much systemic buildup. Okay, we had systemic parasitic sometimes also, but also something that can affect your immune system. So your thymus is really important for this coming week, and it'd be good if you could detox a little bit, because your gallbladder, your thyroid, and your liver, they are all worn down, okay? And that is due to collective energies. That is not just necessarily through your personal situation. All right, so a detox would be good. Some teas that you can use for that. Eating light food, drinking lots of water, staying away maybe from too much salt, and really trying to go into a bit more silence, stress relief, because what I'm noticing with every person that I talk to is that their adrenals are really overstimulated and fatigued. All right, so we got a few things to talk about here with my panel guests, and I'm wondering if you guys are ready to come on the air I am going to call you over Skype right now and hope that it all works out.
Hello.
There is a familiar voice. This is
Hi.
Bryan Moss from Southern California. And I see someone else. And yes, Shiela Reed from... Shiela, what's the city called that you live in?
Oh, it's Maryville, Illinois.
In Maryville, Illinois. And Gosia Stachura from Schaumburg near Chicago, Illinois, here in the United States.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome. So if you guys are still watching the YouTube live, mute this one so we don't have too much of an echo. And I'm going to try to make the impossible possible while you guys tell us a little bit about you and try to squeeze 4 heads on the screen here. So I'm going to have to position myself in the either upper or lower hand corner. Where should I go? And Bryan, do you want to get started? What you do and why you're here today, and what sparked all this, and then you guys can, of course, do this.
Well, just to say something, I'm getting like a severe echo and overlap.
Yes, you need to turn off your YouTube live, the other window in which you're watching it.
Oh, okay. Let me do that. Okay, we good now?
Yes, we should be.
That sounds better.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, now I'm sorry. I couldn't understand anything what anyone was saying because I was getting like triple echoes going on at the same time.
Yeah, so I asked you if you wanted to go ahead and introduce yourself just a little bit, one sentence, and why you're here and why you're with these 2 ladies, and what you guys have panned out to talk about here with our audience today about the journey as a path.
Okay. Well, all of us met through the transCODES self-unification, met through Heart Warrior program, the Sacred Self-Healing program. They're a brother and sister program, so to speak. And eventually all 3 of us entered the transCODES training programs.
So you learned how to become an energy healer in the process. So you first started.
Yes, I think that's a common thread the 3 of us had, was we discovered we really liked working with energy. And we discovered, all of us had the common thread that we would like to be of service to people.
Right.
And this just really resonated with us. And about, gosh, I don't know, what was it, Gosia, like 9 months ago or something, you and I started talking, maybe earlier than that.
Yes, thank you for taking the first turn, because...
Well, I happened to see her in the chat room when I was leaving a post on the forum. And somehow Gosia just resonated with me when, I'd hear her share during the transCODES trainings we had and like that. So I just threw out my email address and said, hey, get in touch if you'd like. And it's blossomed to a beautiful relationship, really, a great friendship. And Shiela's the same way. We met each other through the Heart Warrior program. A year and a half ago or so.
We physically met in Colorado during the live event, which was really beautiful. And through our alignment to empower people and their, to awaken to their self-healing abilities and to hop on this path. And through our alignment, it just came and unfolded.
And now, if I understand this right, you guys are all doing a project together, right? But let's have Shiela on first before we get to your guys' quest or your journey that we're going to learn about.
Yeah. Hey guys. So it really, really thankful and honored to be talking with everybody. And Gosia and Bryan and I have, as they've already said, just kind of hit it off. And, I think for me, what's been a little bit different is we all connect from this energetic place, and we're going through this journey, and you'll find many people doing that, I think, in lots of different ways, which is really cool. But for me personally, I think the connection that happened with Bryan and Gosia was definitely, already there from going through similar experiences, which we can, connect with. But I think the deal was sealed when we met in person, and sometimes that's one of those things where it's one of those final cherry on the top pieces sometimes, or sometimes it's just, hey, yeah, that's not really it. But for me, it was really it. And so it was kind of from there, I think we all just started to expand a little further with what our thoughts and dreams were about what we were hoping to do to help people, and what we've been learning with transCODES and the other numerous things that we've been trying to work on with and for ourselves. And we pulled this thing together to say, let's give it a shot and see if we can kind of organically grow it.
So let's get this
yeah.
straight. I mean, you guys are actually real live people, who
Yes.
have trained with me and Jeff, energy training, energy healing, for yourself on your own self-healing journey, and who are now embarking on the journey of being of service to others. Each of you in your own pace, because you live in different places and you don't really connect, through, like, say, open up a practice together or anything like this. But you guys have a project that you came up with that is now starting to take off. And this is basically what we can expect to hear about a little bit. There, I have you all. I couldn't fit you guys in geometrically, but I have you all. So this is what we're going to hear about from you today. How, your journey brought you guys together. You just explained that, but also sort of where this is inspiring you to go. And I liked how, I forgot now who said it, but how, I think you just did, Shiela, like how you've actually, developed a vision of your own journey, maybe much different from where you thought it would go. And I would love to hear a little bit about this. So, one of the things that that people often ask me is like, well, with all these courses and programs do you have, like how much do I have to commit, and then are there any tests, or are there any, and well, we're laughing about this here right now, but I get it, I mean, I've spent a lifetime in training courses, academic as well as spiritual, shamanic, and you call it, and there's this old paradigm of learning, that is sort of performance based, right, and becoming good at something, and sort of going through this this evaluation process. I would love to hear from you guys here, as people, real people who went through, these energy training and energy healing. You guys have pretty much experienced the whole range of things that we do here at transCODES, and what you perceive as sort of the thing that actually really helped you on your journey. I bet it was not the performance part.
Who's going first? Well, I'll jump in. This is Shiela. For me, it was the connection. It's personally, it's been some, empathic, sensitives, all of those terms that lots of people will talk about, and most people will understand that listens to this today. Sometimes you feel kind of alone out there, mm-hmm. And there's lots of places nowadays that you can kind of start to go, but you start to, it's like what you said earlier, Jona, about you want it, intuitively to be careful and cautious a little bit with who you're associating with, what you're reading, what you're listening to. Those things have started to just really get particular for me over the years. And so when it starts to be that connection, it's extremely important for me for it to be integrous. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at. And that's what I found here. And with Bryan and Gosia is kind of what's allowed this to kind of spark for me.
Now, how did you know that it was integrous or that it worked for you?
Those are those alignment pieces that as we work through these things for ourselves and we can do that discernment piece that you always talk about, that's the difference between being able to discern what is integrous for me and my true self and being able to make those decisions way better, not all the time perfect at all, but it's clearer than it's ever been for me. And I think that's what makes me a lot more comfortable moving into some of the other decisions that we make and endeavors that we want to take on like this,
So endeavor. I love the word endeavor, because it's kind of like a bit of an adventure. You don't really know what you're getting into. And then all of a sudden you see yourself connecting with people whom you've never seen before, whom you've never met in real life. Do you guys mind if I share what your background, like your day jobs are? I mean,
no, I don't
mind. If you guys would have met in real life first, I doubt that you would have talked with another, because Bryan works in Hollywood and in the costuming aspect of big movies and so forth. Gosia is an architect, and Shiela is a social worker, in a management position. I don't think you guys would have talked with another if you would have met, like say in a cafe or whatever, or some kind of other course. So there was a lot of this connection that you mentioned, Shiela, that didn't really happen based on who you are, what you present, where you're from. But it happened energetically for the most part, without seeing each other. If there was connection, I guess it was just verbal, right? I mean, there's a lot of occasions. Go ahead, please. Where we share, our experiences. Some of it is just written, in the community forum, where we share our experiences in sessions.
Well, automatically there's a barrier that's broken down just because we're all there for basically the same reasons. And so, you kind of got that part of the equation out of the way, and so inherently or by gut feeling, really through our heart, we that's where we feel it's integrous. And, for me, I was a month shy of my 60th birthday when I signed on to the Heart Warrior program a year and whatever it was, 9 months ago. And at that point up to my journey, I didn't know how to go about whatever the heck I was doing on my journey, or if I even had a journey or what was going on. But I had deciphered enough of my life up at that point to where when my critical inner voice, my ego, was going nuts, I knew I had to do the opposite thing. And so my ego, my critical inner voice, is going nuts, giving me every reason on the planet that I shouldn't sign up for the Heart Warrior program. And so I thought, no, you know what? It's my birthday. Fuck it. I'm doing it. And I paid for the whole thing right off the bat and haven't turned back. And it's been a life changer, really. And I think all of us, you listen to other people's stories, or you read them in the forum, or you hear them on webinars, and we all have that commonality where we had enough of whatever we're doing, and it just resonated to stick with transCODES and self-unification. We all needed modalities to work with, and that's what helped me and saved my ass, was learning all these tools so I could reconnect with my heart again. Okay. And see the beauty of myself.
So, Bryan, I just filtered out a massive piece of wisdom here, and that is you challenged your ego. You went out of your comfort zone, and did exactly the opposite, basically, of what your ego mind was telling you.
I figured that out about 5 years ago or something. my instinct was telling me, it was so strong, what I call my instinct, really my heart, but it was speaking to me so strong. There was like a little, it was like a little twig amongst a whole bunch of tree branches of my critical inner voice going, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But
Right.
that little twig was like, nah, I don't know, you're going to be sorry. You're always going to think about it if you didn't do it or something. And
it's like the ego, senses that it's going to be challenged, and it's giving you fears and
yeah.
It's giving you a FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Right. Yeah. So this is interesting. How do you today, with all the training and everything that you have, how can you explain to people the difference between, like say this critical inner voice and the true inner voice, and you mentioned heart connection. Let's go back to heart connection. How do you know that you're connected with your heart? And guys, audience, please comment. And somebody are commenting here. Some people are saying, "Oh, guys, you are so brave." Yes. How did this? How would you describe your journey of sort of finding that discernment piece? Like knowing when you're in your heart and when something. And again, we're not talking about emotions when we talk about heart, right? We're talking about this true self part in us, right? That somehow comes through connecting with our center. How do you today know that when you're in your heart and when you're not?
The heart connection feels really empowering, and you want to connect. You want to talk to people. You want to see the positive and ahead of you, like nice shifts and be inspiring, really. When you're in your ego, you often feel like closed off. You don't want to talk to anyone. You see really yourself as someone like a separate, that everyone is against you. You all often feel alone
and yes, that's the whole point, right? I mean, you feel like it's me and the rest of the world,
Yes.
kind of like whether it's based on anger or fear or hostility, but there's something that makes it impossible for you to connect with others, and at the same time, it makes it impossible to connect within as well, right? I mean, this is what I heard from what you just
Yes.
said. So you know that you are in your heart when you feel this openness and the willingness to connect.
For me, there's like, even when you get that first glimpse of it, if you will, it's kind of hard to put these things in a terminology, really, but when you get even like a nanosecond of your first introduction to your heart, your true self,
Mm-hmm.
there's no mistake about it. I mean, you know it.
You know.
I mean, it's like your favorite pair of shoes, your favorite pair of tennis shoes you love to put on, but you don't get to wear that often anymore. But you put them on, yeah, okay, that's it. And it's like the same thing. It's good fit.
Like there's no question, right?
Right.
No question. You just know it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's like total. It's like you feel like total awareness almost. It's incredible.
So it's a mixture. What would you say? It's a mixture of intuition, of precognition to a degree as well, like feeling like this is, I have to do this.
Well, what happened to me, I don't want to speak for everyone else, but what happened to me is I've been going on my journey. You learn not to be so judgmental. You think, like, I never thought I was really that judgmental. But then as I started going on with the Heart Warrior program, the Sacred Self-Healing program, I realized I was one judgmental SOB, and I really had to look at that and be honest about that, about myself, and not ignore that. And that's when I started to acknowledge my white shadow. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I started, without even really thinking about it, but I really started to take responsibility for areas of my life that I didn't even know were within me. And so it's out of acknowledging myself for taking that responsibility that kept empowering me to keep going at it.
So that we have a few ingredients here that you guys basically filtered out as sort of the tools that really made a difference for your life, and that is challenging the ego, right? Moving out of the comfort zone, connecting with the heart, learning how to discern, and
intuition. Really, like, synchronized. Everything seems synchronized, and even if, like, you think about someone, that person either calls you or texts you. It's beautiful.
And also, filtering out some of the overlay, right? Some of the overhead, that critical voice that Bryan mentioned, or the judgment.
Yes, you do learn how to, you can't help but learn how to discern your own energies from the collective energies. And, it takes a lot of trial and error to figure it out, but you do eventually figure it out. And that helps a lot.
How did you do this? This is a question I get a lot from people. Like, how can I discern, whether the energies that I'm feeling right now, whether those are mine, or whether this is coming in from the collective, or whether I absorb this, like, say, from, my from the conversation that I just had, or from a client that I was with this morning. How do you guys discern? Like, how did you learn how to discern? How can someone learn this? What would you recommend?
Well, I would say that one of the things that got to be kind of tough for me, because I work in an environment, in an industry where it's constantly stuff around me all the time. Extra stuff, not just even the big collective. So it got really hard sometimes to figure that one out. And what it really ties for me into what we were just talking about in terms of when you finally get that feeling of your true self connection in that split second. And that's the biggest thing I feel like I've ever learned in the programs that we've been doing here. It was to finally work on a way to get to that split second spot before the ego and the mind and everything starts giving me a bunch of other crap. That's when I was able to figure out, I just know. And so I can now ask myself that question and say, okay, I'm feeling a certain way, or I've got certain things coming in, or I'm feeling a physical feeling here. And I can do most of the time much better now to say, is that me? And almost like a muscle testing anymore, where I can do a quick muscle test and say, is this me? And I'll get a no or a yes, or something like that. And that has helped me so much to let go of things that aren't mine, that I carried forever.
So it's like you've learned how to double check with yourself, to actually check in with yourself. Is this even mine?
Absolutely.
Do I truly feel that way?
Right. And it's a beautiful thing, because
it's
life
simple,
is lighter
right?
like that.
It's become second nature for me. I'm checking in with myself all the time.
No,
grounding myself and all that stuff.
Let's talk about the information processing just a little bit. Sheila, do you think, because you mentioned sort of it's a physical feedback kind of thing that you have, a physical reference feeling that you have. Would you describe yourself as more of a kinesthetic type of learner, of processor? What is your aptitude? I just try to bring this back in, because when we talk about feeling things, there's a lot of confusion sometimes as to how this is supposed to feel like, right? And this cannot be answered because it feels different for every person. So you would say you are more like a kinesthetic learner?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a journaler. You know that.
Oh, yes, and a doodler. Yes.
I write and have the physical stuff. Yeah. I would definitely say kinetics. What
are some of your personal reference or reference feeling for you, Shiela, as far as like knowing that, this is truly you, or that this is coming from you, or that this is true to you. Let's put it this way. What is your personal reference feeling for that?
I actually was going the other direction. I think it's the collective. Like, I've started to be able to almost do a little bit of a body map for myself.
Okay.
And so what I've done is there's certain times when I've noticed, especially helping when we're doing transcode stuff, if I would have certain feelings in certain places of my body consistently. And I've started kind of testing this out a little bit, and I've got a couple of things that seem to be pretty consistent. And there's a big left side shoulder, arm kind of deal that's a collective collection for me.
Okay. So you've got, you have a very distinct feeling, reference feeling within yourself, a physical reference feeling or sensation that indicates to you that this has something to do with the outside world. And when you get that, you know that you don't need to like dwell over, oh my God, why am I feeling this way? Whose fault it is? Is it, what am I not good enough at? That you just know, hey, this is not my stuff, and yes, I have to deal with it, but I don't have to identify with it. Right.
Yep.
Gosia and Bryan, you had a little more time here to think about this now that I sort of ambushed you with this. But what are some of your reference feelings that you would like to share with other people that kind of show that it can be very, very different for every person?
I really, like, when I go places, I first of all observe the place for a little bit. And then I kind of sense the energies, what's going on there. Salespersons are very good projectors, for example. So anyone in like sales industry, even if you with like friends with these people, so-called, you can sense like whatever the opinion is, you actually feel differently around those people. Like sensing projections and
how does that feel inside of you? I mean,
for me, my energy feels angry. My energy feels angry. I feel a little angry. Like I can sense that I'm like a little bit nervous too.
So like an intrusion? Is that what?
Like an intrusion.
Okay, exactly. So you feel when something is trying to come in from the outside. Is that what you mean? Like a boundary type of thing. Now, are you more of a kinesthetic, or more of a visual, or more of an auditory type of process, or whatever? What is? Do you know where your primary channel is for information to come in and to process?
I am more like feeling wise. I do get visions, but I don't really.
Yes, it's more ambiance related for you. Yeah, like so you get like sort of the bigger picture and the dynamics, which is not surprising now that you shared with us that one of your reference feelings is when you feel boundaries intruded, or when you feel like there's dynamics going on, that affect you, that make you want to put up your protection, or make you angry, or agitated in a way. So so the feeling, the feeling based experience or processing is kind of like a mixture of all of them, but it doesn't really have a strictly physical or visual signal with it. It just comes as, as something that has an impact on you. You feel impacted, and you probably, Gosia, you're probably also really good at picking up shifts around you, right? Like when the energy shifts, like not maybe being able to pinpoint exactly where this came from, but when something shifts, you can feel this really well, right?
Yes.
Which is, by the way, a really cool skill to have as an architect, right? Because when you analyze buildings and so forth, you've got to have a reference feeling for what these type of architectures make people feel like. That's actually really cool. Bryan, what are your? I know you're really good at sharing those. So I know some of your reference feelings, but would you like to share with us, how some of the feelings that you've developed by decoding your inner lexicon of sensations, things that help you to discern things?
Well, I find what works for me whenever I'm in a situation. It doesn't matter where I'm at. If I'm at work, amongst coworkers, if I'm at a store, at the gas station, even if I'm at home by myself, whatever. If I'm feeling, for lack of better terminology, if I'm feeling squirrely or something,
yeah,
I always go back to what you've taught us was when breathing, when you exhale, it's very difficult to hold a thought as you're exhaling the breath. Mm-hmm. And so the couple of times I'll breathe deep, I'll pull along the exhalation part as long as I can so I'm not thinking about anything. And then I pay attention after I'm done breathing like that. I just immediately, with my heart, before training with you, I would have called it with my inner guidance or gut instinct or whatever. And I'm able to discern at that point if it's me or if it's outside of myself.
Okay, so
it's just weird,
So what you do is like you kind of create a clean slate.
Right.
You remove the mental overlay for just a split second that allows you to.
Yeah, I go back down to 0 point field, if you will, and then I feel it. I'm kind of like both feely and visual.
Yeah.
I find it's like 50-50 for me. And so I just start with a blank, like you said, a blank slate. And that's how I'm able to tell. And then as I'm going within and feeling with my heart, I'm able to tell what's mine and what's not. Now, co-facilitating, transcoaching, that's a whole different routine for me in a sense. I mean, there's visual lexicons that appear before me.
Right.
When I can tell, like, maybe some of the participants are.
Right. The energy reading part.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, the energy reading part is a bit more complex, we learn, specific ways of discerning energies and so forth. But I think all three of you have gone through the Energy Healer, the transCODES training program here at transCODES at some point. You can confirm that the energetic perception that you've learned is probably not how you thought it is, right? I mean, I know, I remember these first conversations with all of you, and we all kind of think that energetic perception has to be visual. Everybody kind of thinks that, we have to see the energies, in like the same way maybe we see, whatever, my dog's tail wagging or something, right? There's a lot more to our energetic perception. It's a way more complex, and it uses all channels of perception, and even those that we don't even have a clue that we have those, right? So you've learned how to bring all this together and develop your own panda style, your own kung fu style, right? But guys, now if I get this right, and this now comes to the core of why you're here. So somehow within all this learning together and sort of like-minded and self-healing community and learning how to share things, even without knowing one another, but somehow you found together and you now have a project that you've started together to be of service. Would you like to tell us here a little bit about that and how people can get to this?
Well, yeah, I'll start. We created a website together. We definitely wanted to introduce people on the path that we've all been introduced to, is looking within and your heart. And we created a website together, the Heart's Path, and it's at theheartspath.net.
Okay.
And it's in the infant baby stages right now. I mean, we just kind of, talk about our egos messing with us. We like, on one hand, it felt comfortable to do this, but on the other hand, we're like, what in the hell are we doing? What's going on? Yeah, I mean,
but
so
here you are. You're manifesting it right now, right here.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And so we just we're organically growing this website and see where it's taking us. And we're going to start blogging next month.
Okay.
I'm working up a project I've taken on myself to create a prayer circle within our website of particular individuals that get together once a month and do a prayer group kind of thing. That probably won't be happening until like in February or so, but we all have ideas what we want to do, and it's basically really just to get that person to look within. And if they can look within and just get a brief glimpse of the heart, of the divinity within themselves, I feel like I accomplished what I wanted to do. Really, if I could just get them to look that way. And so we're all contributing various things to the site to help support that.
So, and is this just so everybody understands this? Is this a service that you have to book, like in a session, or is this something you guys want to offer as just empowering support for people who are on this self-healing, self-excel, self-consciousness journey?
Yeah, I think that it's at this point we're looking at it as kind of the first step, if you will. Maybe a little bit of I like this term, energetic triaging.
Yes.
It's a little bit like there's so many people out there that are quote unquote awakening or having these new feelings that are coming up, and they don't know where the hell to go. And not that we know where to send people or anything like that, but sometimes I know for me, sometimes it's nice just to finally find a place where I can check in a little bit and maybe see that, there's a whole lot of people going through the same stuff. And if they can hear our stories, maybe they can feel some comfort in taking their next step, whatever that ends up being. And whether that's some of the services that we eventually hope to offer, or maybe we're able to help connect them to other places like transCODES and things like that, and be almost like a reference point, even if it's something that we aren't doing. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
So really all right now and all you're focused on right now is wanting to create a space.
Correct.
To create a space for someone, who's on this like awakening journey, or a consciousness journey, to speak with people who've gone through parts of that, to share your experiences, and maybe to help them on the way down the road.
Right.
Something, by the way, that why I said in the beginning, I'm proud to present you, because not that it doesn't have anything to do with me. This is something you guys came up with, on your own, totally independently. But when I talk about new paradigm, when I talk about community, when I talk about collaborating, when I talk about self-sustaining and all that, this is what I'm talking about. You guys get the message. This is what I'm talking about. Going together. You don't have to have a big goal. You don't have to have big expectations. You don't have to restrict it in any way. All you really need to bring in is that alignment to wanting to provide a space, and wanting to collaborate, and wanting to go into mutual exchange with others, and energetically triaging,
Right.
but to just really providing that space. If I would just take the energy of what you just said, Shiela, this represents the energy of 2018. This is the task for 2018. So you guys here, you heart warriors, okay, you guys are right on track. Those kind of collaborations, those kind of communities will be supported by collective energies in the next year. So you guys are right on track, and it's wonderful for me to be able to witness this in its birthing stage. But
well, it's an honor to create this with Gosia and Shiela, and it truly is it's a humbling experience, and it's going to be a wonderfully welcome long journey. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And that's all
it's because we are meeting like every Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you know what's really cool?
We have one common chat on Messenger, and it's been awesome. And if people can like hop in and join in, it's like.
That's
you know what's been really cool is that our intention, Jona, was the three of us to meet once a week for creation of the website.
Right.
And what's happened? I mean, usually we said, well, we'll target it for like an hour a pop. Well, sometimes it goes over. Often it usually goes over. And there's only one time where we kind of had to cut it short for like 20 minutes or whatever. But what happens though, and this is really cool. About 80% of that discussion has nothing to do with the website. It has to do with us, venting and bitching to each other and, supporting one another in our journeys. And the other 20% is about the actual website, So,
Right.
But it's really cool that we've.
Right. The website is not the goal. The website is just the space, just the vehicle, and it's the people in that boat, in that vessel that matter. So
yeah, it's really cool that we all resonate so well together that we're able to cut through all the bullshit and just immediately just start talking, and it's really cool. It's one of my favorite times of the week, actually.
I hope that many people find their way, to this vehicle, this space that you're offering. Before I let you go, what are some of the tips or sort of maybe pieces of wisdom that you have for the people who are watching this right now as to like how they can let this inspiration piece, this energy, this call for action that you so beautifully represented here today, how to put this into action? What would be your recommendations for someone who's sitting there, maybe like you did 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and doesn't really know what they truly want, and they're thinking about the things such as goals or maybe just what path they should take? What are your tips for the viewers right now?
I'll tell you. Yeah, my first thing would be to just do one thing. Pick something. Just do it.
Okay. And
try. And if it's something you hate, then don't do that again. Go find something else. And it's okay, but truly, if you're feeling a calling to something, just give something a try.
Okay. Would you have ever thought, Shiela, that you'd be up on YouTube Live here one day talking about energy healing and offering a vehicle?
No, pretty much not, ever.
Yes. Welcome to the club. Neither did I, like 15, 20 years ago. I had it in me too, but I would have never dared to do anything until that one day when it just felt right. Yeah.
Well, and I just real quick wanted to throw in there that even though that's in the heart and in my mind and different little things to move forward, I can tell you that I've hoped for this to happen coming up into this next year, and it wouldn't happen without Bryan and Gosia, because that's that helping inspiration of having that community feeling of a support system that carries you through. And I can tell you that I would have not done any of this and been sad, a year or two down the road to say, dang, I missed that, and so I'm just super excited and just beyond humbled to know Bryan and Gosia and have met them and know that this is what is in store for us next, and we're okay with wherever it goes.
Yeah,
so
same here.
The empowerment, like we really seeking people that empower you, right? I mean, this is something that I've learned in my life is why do I keep sticking with people who are naysayers and who try to make it harder? Yes.
Definitely.
Our critical inner voice can do it alone. So
yes, we got a hard enough time with that, right?
So why look for people like that?
I think I would suggest, and I was going to suggest this back when we were talking about discerning energies, is that don't be afraid to be honest with yourself, and because that's what it takes to work on yourself. Just be honest, and if you share that honesty with others, no one's going to judge you or anything. This is totally a space about non-judgment and support. And so just be honest with yourself, and whatever, horrible things you start discovering about yourself or bad things or whatever, don't let your critical inner voice beat you up. Just, be gentle with yourself. Be kind for yourself. Give yourself a lot of slack. And you're always discovering. And it's a beautiful thing, really.
Gosia, what about the fear of making mistakes?
I think that the fear of actually not going for things, it's like you regret that later, that you don't regret things that you didn't do, you just regret maybe the people you didn't go for. And my tip is listen to your heart. It's always speaking to you, always.
Awesome, guys. You guys were super, super inspiring, and I hope that you can bring lots of people sort of into this space. I'm going to put the website here into the text with the recording, and I also hope to keep my listeners and my people in within my community updated about your guys' progress and the projects that you do. I love the idea with the prayer group, Bryan. This is needed. Those things are needed, these places, these spaces where we feel empowered, where the connection with ourselves is in the foreground, where that becomes the alignment and not sort of giving up our power to something outside of us, the healer or, whatever it is that some people, use as agenda. This is
well, I think, it kind of touches on what Shiela said earlier, is a lot of people just know that there's other, they don't know there's other choices out there.
Yeah.
They just don't. And everyone's trying the best they can with whatever they're working with. I really do think that it took me a while to see that. But instead of looking at the planet like it's some really fucked up, weird place and evil people lurk and everything, I realize everyone's doing the best they can with whatever level of, they're on their journey, And so, it's about connecting. It's about sharing. It's something about sharing. It's very empowering, whether you put it in the forum or you're able to speak through venues like this. So it's really cool stuff.
Well, awesome, guys. I thank you so much for coming here and for stepping out of your comfort zone and to follow the call of action and listen to your heart. You guys are true heart warriors, okay? This is what heart warriors are, all right? So if anybody has any questions in regards to what that is sort of the essence of it. Thank you, audience, for coming here, for your beautiful comments. People are very inspired. It's very beautiful. And also, in general, thank you very much for your support. Before you go, make sure you push that like button, and you share, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get the notifications when we go online. And tomorrow, I don't know yet what the energies are that are coming in for tomorrow, but our theme for tomorrow is the physical integration. Okay, physical integration. How does all this this spiritual, metaphysical talk here, or sometimes even psychological talk, how can we integrate all this into the physical, our bodies? I want to talk about nutrition and some of the exercises that you can do to support yourself and to empower, not just yourself, but also others. Thank you so much, Bryan, Shiela, and Gosia for giving us this inspiration. It's been
Thank
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
awesome. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful
Bye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you tomorrow, same time.